He has his guest also, and we'll introduce him as well, and that's Mr. Hubert Bass. So, without further ado, I'd like to say good morning.
Good morning.
To Mr. Afrika, and I'm gonna let you just have at it. You know, we've spoke a few times here prior to you getting here, and I just definitely want to let you kind of speak on what you're doing and some of the things that are going on in the Crittenden County area. And like I said, I'm excited, you know, to hear somebody from the NAACP. I've always had plenty of questions I wanted to ask the people from the NAACP because I'm not a member, but I'd like to learn a little bit more about the NAACP and its effectiveness and what can the NAACP do for Brother Love.
Well, good morning, Brother Love, and good morning to all of you listeners this morning. I have to tell you, this is the first time I've ever been on a radio program, so if I mess up, just coach me in the right direction.
You're doing just fine.
All right, okay.
You're doing just fine.
Well, I am the president of the Crittenden County NAACP.
Okay.
The major reason that we worked so hard some years ago to get involved in that organization because the African American community was not being properly represented. And at the time, the NAACP, its leadership was really in the pocket of the local power structure. And we knew we couldn't have that if we wanted to be effective, we had to have an organization and to speak for us because, you know, one or two people can't do it. So you have to have the strength, the power, and influence of an organization. Now, we've had some problems. November 15th, 2010, when several of us ran for the offices of the NAACP, the state president from Little Rock came and tried to commandeer the election.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, he attempted to have the election thrown out. We won, and when I say we, I mean our group, president, our vice president, Ms. Ruby Johnson, the secretary's position, the treasurer's position, and various other positions. We won by well over a 2-to-1 margin.
Okay.
In the NAACP elections are run quite similar to municipal and county elections. A month earlier, there is the election of an election supervisory committee, which is just like election commission. In fact, Mr. Hubert Bass here, or Justice Hubert Bass, is his official title, served as the election supervisory committee chairman.
Okay.
And so when the president of the NAACP from Little Rock, Mr. Dale Charles, came, he came that evening. I believe that election started at 5 o'clock. Is that right, Mr. Bass?
That's correct.
And he came and said that I came to run the election.
Okay.
And they said, "What do you mean you came to run the election?" I said, "Yep, I came to run the election. I brought my own ballots."
Okay.
Right off the bat. Now, what does that tell you? I mean, that's like the governor coming in and saying he's going to run a city election. Now, you know he can't do that. The election commissions in counties and municipalities and states, they actually are responsible for the elections, the ballots, the counting of the election. That's what they do.
Okay.
But he came. Now, what people didn't know, that Mr. Charles had come in 2004 and had done the same thing, and he'd come in 2000, and he would come whenever the former president, or at the time the existing president, had opposition because he wanted to keep her in that position.
Okay.
On this night, he was ejected because they had security guards on hand, and so when he came to cause disruption, he was ejected. I think that the president at that time, she called the police 2 times. They came out to intimidate the people. So you have to understand there was a relationship between the former president, the police chief, Hubert, the mayor, and so everybody had a vested interest in maintaining status quo at the NAACP.
Okay.
Because the only way that a power structure can exist is that all people and all institutions and all organizations are in submission to it.
Okay.
And of course we're not going to have that.
Okay.
Now it's a long hard road, but we're not.
Okay.
So after and I was there when he left, he said, "There's no point in y'all voting, talking to the people there. This election is going to be thrown out anyway." And so probably 4 or 5 weeks later, a letter came. Didn't come to me or none of our officers. It came to the then president. Her name was Willie Cather Jones, and it said that they had sent the state president to represent the national interest, and that he was sent to monitor and to observe the election. But he didn't say that. He said he came to run it. And so Mr. Bass, as the election supervisory committee chairman, wrote a letter the very night of the election, November 15, 2010, complaining of his interference and of his deliberate attempt to overthrow that election. He never got a response. So he filed a lawsuit on behalf of the Election Supervisory Committee in circuit court, and got an injunction. And she was ordered to turn over all, and the judge, of course, found that the election was in order. And he said, I quote, he said, "This is the United States of America. It's not a banana republic. Whoever gets the most votes win." And if you are not satisfied with the outcome of the election, the next time there's an election, run again. They didn't want to do that. They didn't want to observe the orders of the court. Now, the judge is black, the only black judge in the area, the circuit judge, Judge Victor Hill. And she would not obey. She would not turn over the checkbook, would not turn over the treasurer's information, all of the materials necessary for a proper transition of the administration. She refused to do. She wound up taking all the money out of the bank account, and then we wound up charging her with contempt. The judge charged her with contempt, gave her 30 days in jail. She began to give up some of the stuff, you know, the checkbooks, and well, she said she lost her checkbook, so we got a few things, the keys to the building and the post office and all that kind of thing. You know, we actually had to go get a court order to get the bank account turned over to us. Oh man, we had a whole bunch of problems, and then she wound up going to jail for 4 or 5 days, and then the judge let her out. And then we have consistently had a problem from the state president and the national. Once they dug in deep, I assume they thought we were going to give up, and so they didn't want to recognize us. And we're still having that problem. We've been in the court 7 or 8 times, but we're not going to give up because, you know, we're committed to what we do. We need an organization. We need a functioning organization. Do you have any specific questions? I'll be glad to answer them.
Well, I had one just then, and you kind of answered it. The status of your presidency in Crittenden County, and the status with the person that's the state head in Little Rock. What's the relationship now today? I know you spoke about something back in November 2010, but what's the relationship now? Are you guys...
That's a hostile relationship. We have nothing to do with each other, which is okay. The court has ordered that this case is within the jurisdiction of the court, and that no one, including the state or national or anyone else, other than a court with appellate power over his, can intervene and make a decision other than his. And so they have continued to refuse to recognize us, and the court has issued stronger orders. Actually, just this past, I believe it was August the 30th, just this past August the 30th, the representatives from the national organization stipulated in court that we were a NAACP branch in good standing, that all of our officers, that includes me, are in good standing. However, when we have asked for executive training, executive leadership training, which is what is required by the bylaws for all of his officers, they keep giving excuses. As a matter of fact, it wasn't long ago, I believe someone called and asked about our status, and one of the head guys up in Baltimore said that, well, I don't know, I think they're in business down there, you can talk to Mr. Afrika. He said, well, are they in good standing? So, well, I don't have that information in front of me. So I think it's a wait and see. If you would, you know, there's an article on our Facebook, which is our media outlet. It's Our View, WMNAACP. Our View, WMNAACP. Go out there and become our friend, and you will treat yourself to one of the greatest and most dynamic conversations going on in the world. But we're operating, as a matter of fact, our next meeting, which is the 21st of this month, we are hosting a Meet the Candidates nights where we're asking all the candidates to come out and giving everybody a chance to speak, including myself. I won't be presiding over that meeting. I think the Vice President will. But we are still up and going, and we're doing our work. All right,
well, I'll tell you what, we're going to get ready to go to break, and when we come back, I've got a couple of more questions I want to ask and throw at you, and then we'll see what you have to say about those. Also, I want to discuss the position that you're running for, the public position that you're running for also. So give me just a few minutes, and we'll be back right after this.
Good deal.